Hey guys, Sarah here. So this is my first vlog post, and excuse me if my voice kind of goes in and out. Still working on it. I don't use it full time, but I'm getting there. And so this is really just kind of an introduction to this channel, a little bit about me, as well as kind of my story coming out, which is something I'm still kind of in the process to some people. So I guess just to get started, this has really been something I've been struggling with my entire life. I knew from a pretty young age something was wrong, but I couldn't really place what it was. One memory I have that was pretty vivid was I had gone to my neighbor's house, and they had a really big swimming pool, and one of the guys there had just massive amounts of armpit hair, and I was in elementary school at the time, so to see that and then to be told that that's something I have to look forward to really bothered me, and I know that my mom at least remembers that as well as being something that she recognized as something that that I didn't really care for, but she didn't really think anything of it, I guess. Just kind of figured it's usual kid stuff. And so I know I'm all like worried about my hair and shit. So that was like one of the indicators that I can recall. And so it was something that I kind of pushed down. I was afraid to talk about it. I didn't want to tell my parents about it. I didn't want to tell my sister. And it was something that I just kind of avoided. I would think about it a lot. I can remember in late elementary school, early junior high, I would lay in bed for, 2-3 hours before falling asleep, just picturing what it would be like to be a woman, to, feel the way I thought I should feel, and just always being hurt that it didn't really work out. And even doing some things that were kind of harmful, not intentionally to harm myself, but things that just were not good to do. Like one example of that is I had, one of these belts that you could kind of make it any size you wanted. It was like woven leather or whatever. And so what I was doing was I was wrapping that around my chest as tight as I possibly could to push what little I had up to make it look somewhat like breasts, because that was just something that eased my dysphoria, even though I didn't really know what dysphoria was at the time. It just made me feel better in that moment. I remember getting caught at least once with one of my sister's dresses under my bed, although almost nobody in the family seems to remember that. I don't know if my sister remembers. I know I've asked my mom, and she claims she has no idea what I'm talking about, so maybe she just forgot, it was insignificant to her, I don't know. What really kind of made things a bigger deal, roughly about 8, maybe 9 years ago, I actually did come out as transgender. I told almost everyone in my family. I made a new Facebook account. Basically everybody knew. But there were two kind of things that caused me to kind of reel back, and I actually went back into the closet. And I'm doing this again, although to a much larger extent, as you can see. So the two kind of main factors there was, first, that when I came out the first time, I saw a lot of people in my family that were hurting, that weren't dealing with it very well. Not necessarily that they were giving me a hard time, but they were definitely struggling with it. And of course I was still afraid to dress in front of anybody. It was always something I did by myself in my room. I was very nervous to go out and try to show anybody or talk to anybody about it. I did have a friend's house that I started going over to. I told them first, and so I was dressing up a little bit over there, and this beautiful, wonderful woman there, who later became my fiance, had actually let me borrow some of her clothes, and she was helping me out, and she knew that I wanted to transition. It was something that very quickly picked up, and it was something, I guess, when I had initially come out, as I met her friend Dante, and Dante is a trans male. And so he really just opened my eyes that what I was going through was absolutely something that was something that I could do. I could do something about it. I didn't have to, live with this awful feeling inside of being somebody who I didn't feel I was. And so that was one of the big things that helped me come out. And, what ended up happening was this wonderful woman that, was helping me get through this process, I ended up engaged to her. I ended up having a child with her. My son is now 5 years old, and he doesn't really know what I'm going through right now. It's not something we've talked to him about yet. And I don't know how I'm going to talk to him about it. Though I do know, at some point we'll get there. But because I saw all this pain that people were going through, and because I ended up not only finding, the love of my life, and then even later on in life, not long after even, ended up having a child with her, I was petrified. I didn't want my family to hurt. I had family members that were arguing amongst themselves, some of them saying some nasty things because, one of them understood what pronouns to use and what to call me, and other people in my family, they had no understanding of the LGBTQ community at all. And so when they weren't using those pronouns or whatever, this other person would get very, very angry and would direct things at them in a pretty negative way, and even attack them personally in ways that had nothing to do with what was going on with me. And, after seeing that, I reeled back. Between that and between meeting the love of my life, the first person I ever felt safe with, outside of my family, and I didn't want to lose her. She fell in love with me the way that I was, and I was afraid that if I kept on the path that I was, that I was going to lose her, and that I might not find anyone again. So I took Sarah and I shoved her into the back of my head, and I pretended that she didn't exist, and that I didn't need to live. I didn't need to live as Sarah to be happy. And, for a while, I guess things were okay. It was around this time that I also started drinking pretty heavily. I started smoking a lot of marijuana to an excessive extent. And there was definitely some outside stressful factors to that. I'm not saying it was the only reason. But there were times that I would drink purely because I was bothered with myself. I wasn't happy with who I was, the way I presented myself, and I didn't want to tell anybody. And I was doing, whatever I could to try and just pretend that wasn't part of me. And as time went on, I would tell my fiance, hey, I kind of want to shave my legs, and I'm going to shave my arms. And she would kind of ask, why do you want to do that? That's, you're not going to like it. Your arms are going to end up itching, when the hair starts to grow back in. And so every now and then I would do it, and, they would start to itch, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't really like that. I'm going to stop. But what I really wanted to do was just keep doing it. I wanted to continuously have my skin as soft and smooth as possible. But I didn't want to tell her that. And so I didn't. And so, things went on. A few years down the road, my son, ended up 5 years old at this point. He's going to be 6 in December. And I would say about 6 months ago, I tried to come out again. And it wasn't so much that I was coming out necessarily as I was just doing things. So my fiance would find, like on my YouTube history, and it's not that she was snooping, we just, we have YouTube attached to our television, and she would see, oh, I'm at work, but I'm watching videos on voice feminization. I'm watching people's transition timelines. I told her that I had bought a corset, and I tried to play it off like it was just for show. It was just a visual corset. It wasn't. It was a proper, full-blown, steel-boned training corset. I paid a lot of money for it because I was trying to get a more feminine figure. And, of course, that upset her. I was not being honest about what I was doing or the reasons I was doing it. I ended up returning it. I don't think I ever actually got a refund for it. And it didn't fit anyway because I bought it in such a panic that I didn't even get the right size. On top of that, I had some things where I was trying to play middle of the road. Like I had purchased at one point, well, I didn't purchase, I wanted to purchase it. And I had told her about it, and she got very upset. And again, I wasn't giving her the correct reasons. I was looking at these Nucleberry breast pumps, and the whole idea is to try to, over time, like over years, to increase the size of your chest. And even with just the swelling, you would get, a temporary increase of maybe a few hours. And so, and I just told her, I just want to know what it's like. I just want to try. I just want to see. And, we didn't really have the money, and she really she didn't understand. And I wasn't giving her the correct answers. I wasn't being truthful. So I told her that I wasn't going to get it. And I didn't. But I started doing other things. I came out first as a cross-dresser to her at that point, because she hadn't heard about Sarah or any of this for almost 8 years. The whole relationship. Once we got together, I hid that away from her, and I kept it from her for that whole time. And there wasn't a lot of signs that I still wanted to, because I didn't want her to know. I really thought I was going to lose her. And so I started playing this middle of the road, this middle of the ground thing. So, at one point I told her, maybe I'm non-binary. Maybe I like to be able to have both options. I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't just be, the person that I was, the person I was presenting as. I definitely wanted to be a woman. I definitely wanted to have that in my life. I needed to be Sarah, at least some of the time. I'm sorry. I needed to be Sarah. So, I came out as a cross-dresser first, and she was pretty accepting about that. She helped me buy some clothes and stuff. And, I told her, it's not just clothes. I need a wig. I need makeup. I want to learn how to do this. And it took some time to get her to understand that, and this is true for many cross-dressers too, because I even ended up in a cross-dresser support group online, that, even if you are just a cross-dresser, that includes much more than clothing. It is the feminine, presentation. So, a lot of that really does come hand in hand. It took a little while for her to get used to that. And, I got to a point where I told her, I'm like, this might not be enough. I told her I wanted breasts. And that was my way of coming out. I didn't want to tell her I was transgender. I had a really hard time even saying that word. Because for a long time I was in denial. I didn't want to admit that because I saw the pain that it caused in my family members before. And I knew it was a very hard thing to do, and it was a difficult process, and that people who do transition, they're dealing with a lot of things. And of course now seeing that that's why they transition, because they need to be themselves. So I had told her that, and and of course that was upsetting for her. She didn't really understand. And I went back and forth. How she put it is I was flip-flopping on her, and she was like, yeah, this is hard, and I don't understand necessarily, but I just want you to make up your mind, is what she told me. And so at one point I finally told her, yeah, I'm transgender. I want to, I didn't tell her I wanted to transition. I'm like, more than likely, I said, I'm leaning in that direction. I wouldn't just come out and say it, even though I knew that was exactly what I wanted. And for months and months this went on. And she had a really hard time understanding. And it got to a point where I started wearing, ladies' undergarments to work. And I was wearing them every day. I was throwing away my guy underwear. I was throwing away other clothing that was very much male-oriented. And I was starting to wear more of what I wanted more often. And one thing that I think really bothered her, especially because I was still telling her I didn't know which way I was going to go with it, I was still lying to her, is I started wearing my bra to work. And, at first it was just every now and then I would wear my bra to work, and then it was every day. And I told her that I would tell her about these things. I would let her know. But, I went to go to work, and, she's half asleep, and I know she worries about me, and I didn't want her to worry about me all day. So I didn't tell her that I wore my bra to work. I was going to tell her after I got home. Well, she ended up cleaning up the room, and she was going through my drawers because she was just kind of reorganizing everything. We're staying with we were staying with family at the time, and the room was a complete and utter mess. There just wasn't enough room for all these people in the house, and she knew that. She noticed that my bra wasn't there, and so she called me at work, and she was very upset. And the way she saw it is that I was lying to her again, and I tell her that I wasn't, because I was going to tell her I had my bra on, but at that time I still wasn't being honest with her to the fact that I was transgender. I was still trying to play this middle ground. The way I explained it to her is that I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I didn't want to hurt her specifically. And, because that's a big thing for everyone. It's a big thing for her family. Is she going to be okay telling people that the person that she was planning to marry is transitioning? I didn't know. I was afraid, and I didn't want to put her through that. Likewise, I knew that I couldn't put Sarah into the back of my head again. So I was trying to find this middle ground. The way I explained it was I didn't want to be who I was, and I was afraid to be who I wanted to be. So I was standing in the middle of the road, hoping that I could please everyone, when in reality all that was happening is I was standing there waiting to get hit by a car. And that's kind of what happened. I was very stressed for months because we were stuck at home. We were having trouble saving. The relationship between my fiance and me and my parents weren't the greatest. She's a medical marijuana patient. They did not like that in their house at all. So there were some arguments about that. My parents get very concerned. My mom's very anxious, so she would talk to my fiance about what was going on with me, seeing if I'm okay, and just trying to check in all the time. And she would check in with my fiance more often than me, because I would get very defensive. I would get nasty sometimes, or I would just close up altogether and I wouldn't tell her anything, because I didn't want them to know. I wasn't ready to be honest with them, and I was barely being honest with myself. So she had ended up lying to me to get me to come home. She was afraid that I wasn't going to come home because I told her I didn't want to. I didn't say I wasn't going to come home, but I told her, I don't want to come home. I'm going to try and back up because I've got the sun in my face, and it looks awful. I told her that I didn't want to come home, and I would let her know when I left work. And then as the day went on, I found out that I might have to stay late. And so when I told her that, she really didn't think I was coming home. She said she was going to go to her mom's house because she needed help doing some things. And when I got home, and I remember it so vividly, she didn't look me in the eye. I walked in the door and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" Or maybe I didn't even say that. Maybe I just said, "Hey." I didn't say much. And she said, "Hey." She looked down at the ground and she said, "I lied. I'm not going to my mom's. I just want you to come home." And I told her, "You shouldn't have lied to me. Go to your mom's like you said." And I walked away. She tugged on me, ended up falling on the floor, and just because she wouldn't let go of me, and I just kept walking, and I ended up leaving. And I think 2 days went by, and after that 2 days, and I think this is the biggest reason for it, I was so afraid of losing her by telling her I was transgender, that what I ended up doing, I still kind of struggle to understand. I told her I was breaking up with her. After 2 days, and I think what really happened there was I had 2 days where I felt like the stress was lifted a little bit, because I didn't have these constant arguments every night. We had for a few months every single night where she wanted to talk, because she just wanted to know what was going on with me, and I wasn't being honest with her. So every night we would talk, and I would tell her a little bit, but I was never giving her the whole story. And I ended up breaking up with my fiance of 8 years. I'm sorry, I have to move the car. I can't stand this glare of the sun. It's not really bothering me, but it's making the video look awful, and I don't like that. So let me just move the car over here, and we'll see if that's any better. Sorry, I know I'm a pain. So, but yeah, that's, I guess that's really about the story, you know. I came out 8 years ago. I got afraid. I got worried. I knew I had a rough time ahead of me, and I saw what my family was going through, so I pulled back. And when I started coming out again, I realized that I had to live as myself. I had to be honest with myself, and of course, by extension, I had to be honest with everyone else, and that was the hardest part. Even more so than being honest with myself was being honest with everyone else. Me and my fiance are still separated at the moment, but we're working on things. Things are getting better. I do think that we are going to end up back together again, and I hope to see that. She's been supportive. There's definitely been a lot of times when I thought she wasn't. But, you know, the more we talked, the more it was more of a matter of, you know, we were living with my parents, and she was trying to kind of protect me because she didn't know how they were going to handle it. And I didn't know how they were going to handle it. I wanted to dress more often. I wanted to go out in public dressed like this. I wanted to do that. And I wasn't allowed to, plain and simple. I was not allowed to leave the house if I was dressed. And I wasn't allowed to go anywhere without her dressed either, because she was worried that something might happen to me. You know, when my parents first heard that I went to Walmart by myself, fully dressed like this, the first things they told me was that someone was going to beat the living crap out of me. Somebody who's transphobic is going to kill me. That's what I was told. And, you know, it's frightening to hear that, even more so because things like that have happened in the world. But I'm at a point where I would rather live as myself or be dead. I'm not going back to that life. I'm not going to go back to lying to myself. And I do think that my family, my parents, and those around me understand that. They do know that this is important, and that I have to do what I have to do. You know, it's been crazy. It's been a really big thing to go through, and I'm still working on going through it. I mean, I've gotten to a point where, you know, I'm growing my hair out. This is a wig. My hair's not that long yet, unfortunately, but I'm growing my hair out. I have my ears pierced. I paint my nails. I got my trans pride colors, and I wear that to work. You know, I'm growing my hair out. I wear my earrings to work. I paint my nails. I've had these painted for almost 2 weeks now, and you know, as of about a week ago, I've also started wearing my breast forms to work. I'm only out to 2 people at work. The owners I haven't told, but I'm pretty sure they know at this point. Kind of hard not to see it. So, and from what he's told me, my manager, they don't care, and that it really shouldn't be a problem. But I do need to still tell them at some point, especially so that I can have the freedom to truly express myself the way I want. I want to wear makeup to work. I want to be myself, and I'm getting there. But, you know, at some point, you know, you kind of got to say something. So I do need to talk to him. But yeah, you know, I wear women's jeans at work. I wear a bra on my breast forms. You know, I'm doing all of these things kind of step by step instead of just jumping in head first. quite frankly, I'd wear a wig to work if I could, but I think that might be a bit much, especially because I do some labor-intensive stuff, so kind of got to wait for the real hair on that one. But yeah, if you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate it. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I've missed and a lot of things that I've forgotten to mention, but yeah, thank you. Actually, there's one more thing. Actually, there is one more thing that I wanted to bring up before I end the video. I'll try to keep it short, and I'll probably do a second video just on this topic, but I just wanted to briefly touch on when I knew for sure, when it really hit me. Because the first time, over 8 years ago now, that I started dressing up a bit, didn't have proper clothes, I didn't have things that fit me right, I didn't have my own makeup, and I wasn't doing my own makeup. My best friend at the time, who became my fiance, is the one who did my makeup, and it didn't look the greatest, and I don't blame her for that. It was more of I looked in the mirror and all I saw was a man in a dress. I didn't see myself. I didn't see Sarah. I didn't see anything but shame. And I wasn't happy with what I saw. And I think that was another reason, really, that I didn't end up transitioning back then. It's because I didn't think that I would ever look presentable. I didn't think I would ever look pretty in any sort of way. And I figured it wasn't worth it. But several months ago, when I got my wig, when I started figuring out my makeup a little more, I remember walking past the bathroom. I was getting ready to go downstairs. I was going to go outside, just in the yard, take a few pictures by myself. Because I go back and I look at those photos when I was feeling dysphoric. It would make me feel a little better for a minute. But I walked by the bathroom, and we had this big mirror there, and I just kind of froze. I was absolutely stunned, because it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I saw her. I saw me for the first time. I looked in that mirror and I was like, oh my God, there you are. There you are. I saw a person that was always missing in my life. I saw what I felt inside, externally, for the first time. And I knew then. I knew that it was a big deal. And I knew that I was going to have to come out again, and I was going to have to do this. And I was going to have to make it work. And I'm really grateful that I've gotten to where I am. I wish it was something I got to a point to with my fiance, rather than breaking up with her. And I do think that things will work out. But that's when I knew. And I knew it without a doubt. And, after that, it was every time I started dressing up, I didn't want to take anything off. I had a couple days where I did go out and about. I had a day I was out for 9 hours as myself, as Sarah, and it was great. It was fantastic. I just felt so free, and I felt like myself for the first time. And I got home exhausted and tired, and I still didn't want to take anything off. And when I did, I absolutely hated what I saw in that mirror. I couldn't look at it. Every time I took my breast forms off, and I had to look down and see that they weren't there, it was so painful. Because it wasn't me. It wasn't who I was on the inside. I can't live as that person anymore. I can't wait until what you see in front of you now is me 24/7. It's pretty close. I've definitely been pushing the envelope at work and at home, and it's pretty close. The only thing keeping me from being exactly the way you see me right now is some makeup and my hair getting long enough that I can style it. And once I talk to people at work and I get past that hump, that's what it's going to be. And I can finally really start being myself all the time. And I can't wait for that day. I can't wait. And I'm hoping that I can start HRT. I want to do it before my birthday. I talked to my fiance about it. I didn't give her a date, but I told her it's coming, and then it's coming like a freight train. But I did promise her that I would let her know before I started. Like, I might make an appointment, I might even get a prescription, but you will know before I take it. And the only reason I told her that is because everything that happened between us, my back and forth, my lies, my hiding, I know that if I want to have a relationship with her ever again, I need to be honest with her. I need to keep her in the loop. And I can't start hormones and tell her 3 months down the road and expect her to be okay with that and expect her to feel like she can trust me. So I will tell her before I start. And I don't know how many people I'm going to tell. There's definitely people in my life I probably won't tell. And quite frankly, it's none of their business. But my ex-fiance will know, because I want my family back. I want my family back. I only see my son once a week on average, just because we're separated and because I work 5 days a week. So I hope things work out. I really do. But I know one thing for sure. No matter what happens, this is me. And that's never going to change. I'm Sarah. And I will always be Sarah. And I guess I always have been, but certainly not on the outside. It's taken a long time to get here. And I am not going back, and I am not pushing her back into this little hole in the back of my head. I can't do it. So, yeah, if you made it this far through the video, thank you. I appreciate it. To my subscribers from Signals Everywhere, because I know right now, at least if you're watching this as my first video, then I know that that's where you guys came from. I want you guys to know that the channel's not going anywhere. Nothing's going to change on Signals Everywhere. And that this did contribute to why there were no videos for months on end. It's not the only reason. We were very stressed at the house. We had a lot of problems going on. But this was by far the biggest, and I was making it difficult. And I was depressed. You know, I was afraid to talk to my fiance. I was afraid to tell her what I wanted, out of fear that I would lose her, which is ridiculous when you consider that I'm the one that broke up with her. But I didn't want to lose her, and I was depressed because I knew I had to make a decision. Either Sarah was going to go back into the back of my mind, or I was going to risk losing my fiance, or at the very least, dealing with all the pain that everyone was inevitably going to go through. It was just something I was going to have to deal with, and I didn't want to deal with it. So I was depressed. So I wasn't making videos. More often than not, I was drinking. I'd get home from work, and I'd down a full bottle of whiskey. And I wasn't making content. I had days where I tried. Days where I wasn't drinking, and I have quit. I don't drink or smoke weed or anything anymore. But even those days when I was sober and I was trying to make videos, I couldn't do it. I was just depressed. I hated myself. I hated my options, and I just couldn't do anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. We're 35 minutes into it. I've done a lot of rambling. There are many, many, many stories that I have left to tell you, and there's some good ones in there. It's not all hardship, and things are getting better. So thank you for watching. I'll answer any questions that you guys have in the comments. Thank you. I've been trying to make this video for a couple weeks now, so thank you. We'll see you in the next one.